Welcome to Tide Talk with Webb. Let's get into it today. We got some news on Mike Locksley, some more stuff I didn't know about. We've got some NCAA investigation against Ole Miss, and some quotes by Joey Freshwater, and the Alabama effect on the SEC. So let's get going. Bang, bang. All right. We got, as everybody knows, Billy Napier left. Mike Locksley came in. He was the head coach at New Mexico. He was the offensive coordinator at Maryland, and he was the Maryland offensive coordinator. It was said that he probably was going to be our offensive coordinator. I highly doubted it. I didn't predict that at all, but he was going to have an on-the-field position because he'd been an offensive analyst for a year. And Saban brings a lot of those guys in, like Tosh and him, and a lot of these guys shuffling in and out as analysts and then get on the field really fast. We needed a wide receivers coach. We needed a tight ends coach. I figured he'd go wide receiver. He went wide receivers coach. The guy's got a wealth of knowledge. He can definitely recruit receivers very well, and I'll get into that in a minute. And he's coached every position on the field except for, I think, offensive line. So the guy's got a wealth of knowledge. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to recruit. He knows how to bring the guys in. And also, he coached at Oregon State, Maryland, and the Colts. I forgot to mention that. So we gotta remember that. Kind of like Tosh, Leopold, I just mentioned, Langkiff, and Sarkisian. Locksley has been promoted from just an assistant guy making probably like $35,000 a year to one of the head guys. And Saban knows what he's doing. He puts these guys in position because he knows eventually somebody's going to leave and he's putting them on the field. So he's kind of like got a roster. He's got a depth, first, second string. T. Martin mentioned that the guy's a triple threat. Now, granted, I know he hasn't actually coached receivers since Army in 1996. But hold on. Like I said, he coached all these positions on the field. He's 37 years old, so he's still fairly young. He's a great top-notch recruiter. He got recruits away from schools like Florida when they were big to go to Maryland. And he got kids to come to Illinois. When he was at Illinois coaching, he literally snagged recruits away from Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Florida State. Do you guys remember a receiver called Aurelius Ben, who was really great at Illinois? He snagged that guy. That guy was like a top 5 receiver back in the day. In 2012, you may remember this guy who's playing for the Minnesota Vikings. He got Stephon Diggs to come play. And he got Stephon Diggs over Florida State, over Florida, over Ohio State to come to what? Maryland? I mean, when was the last time Maryland played in the BCS Bowl? That's a good question. I don't even know. It's probably been a decade, maybe more. I don't know. So that's something to think about, guys. But you got to also think that he also got 5-star offensive tackle Damian Prince and 4-star linebacker at Maryland, Yannick Naku. I'm probably totally murdering his name. But as a rookie last year with the Jags, he had 8 sacks. So he knows talent. He knows how to develop it. He can pick them. A lot of guys would go elsewhere, but he's so great at recruiting a kid, working on a kid, getting in the kid's house, getting the parents assured. So he's got that going for him. Plus, you're at Alabama. You're a national brand. You're like Notre Dame. You're like Texas. You're like USC. He's got it because he can recruit to small schools. He's going to kill it at Alabama. Just wait. Absolutely kill it. Former Connecticut head coach Randy Edsall praised Locksley as a recruiter. He gave him a lot of credit and said that, his ability to look at a defense and know what to do in order to attack it was second to none, and able to score points in that defense, he said, was just amazing. Like I said, I think that he's been with every coaching position offensively as far as the groupings, and defensively except for offensive line. Like I said earlier, he's the only one he hasn't done yet. And who knows, he probably could do that if you put him up to the task. And, he was the head coach of New Mexico, an offensive coordinator at Illinois and Maryland. Like I said, this guy's just a wealth of knowledge. When he was at Illinois, he was his first year, he was ranked 86 nationally in total points. In 2004, the year before they hired him, it was 86. After the year they hired him to be a coordinator, it went up to 34th. and '07, and then in '08 it went all the way up to 19th with not, I would say, subpar talent compared to the rest of the country. So those are great things that he's done, and he's progressed every year. And at that time, the Terrapins scored 5,000 yards, or had 5,000 yards for the first time in 10 years. They ranked 55th nationally in yards per play, despite missing the second half of the season with their two best offensive players. So that should tell you something like that. That's absolutely amazing. He's an offensive mind. Saban knows this. Saban has total faith in him, or he wouldn't be there. And I think one of the reasons he didn't get a more higher profile job after the Terrapins hired a new coach, or Maryland hired a new coach, was because he wanted more experience. He wanted to go play and learn from a guy like Saban. You get on the field and you work your magic and you keep working your way for Saban, you're going to be a head guy. You're going to get picked somewhere, somehow, without a doubt. There's another story about Lane Kiffin. He talks about the Alabama effect, and they talk about the SEC being down, or is it just Alabama's dominating recruiting? There was a story by Fox Sports, Stuart Mandel. He cited 4 reasons why the SEC has fallen from the top spot as the best league in the country. He said it was because overmatched head coaches, poor player development, lack of quarterback development, and the Alabama effect. Florida Atlantic head coach and former Alabama offensive coordinator, Lane Kiffin, sorry about that. He cited recruiting. He said that Alabama totally dominates in recruiting and they work harder at it than anybody. Now, he was quoted as saying this, and kids that they're even going to sit for a year where they could go to a lot of other SEC schools or other top-tier schools in the country and play, they would rather sit 2 years because they know they're going to get a shot at the NFL because Alabama is highly respected and highly looked at. Case in point, 2017's defensive end recruit, Jarius Parks, if I'm saying that right, he opted to sign with Alabama despite knowing the fact he was going to gray shirt for a year, or at least a good semester, or half a year, or whatever. He knew that, and he signed with him anyway. So that should tell you something about the effect. And Kiffin is quoted as saying, and I'm going to read this off, so I'm going to look down for a minute. We'd go play last year, and we knew that no matter what, when we walked onto the field, our roster was more talented than every team we played, said Kiffin. If you accumulate all the best recruits now, you're not playing against them. Fair statement. Now, granted, we did lose in the championship game, but if our best back doesn't go down, I'm going to go ahead and bet a paycheck we win that game. We run enough time off the clock, and it is what it is. But no crying in sports. We lost fair and square. Deshaun Watson's the man. Hats off to you, kid. Sometimes in this article they were saying how Alabama was detrimental to the overall to the conference, and they call it the Sabanization effect. Rick Newhousel, an analyst for CBS, also said in a piece, you can try to copy what they're doing, and you end up doing something you're not comfortable with, and usually it ends up costing your job. They cite Will Muschamp did that. He decided to try to make his program like Saban's. He went through 3 offensive coordinators, lost his job. Gene Chizik also was, and when he was at Auburn, he won a national championship. He totally hired a pro coordinator, and in a year was fired. He went 0-8, done. So basically, they're saying if you're in another school, you need to do your own thing. Don't try to copy Alabama because you can't out Alabama at all. It just doesn't work. Clemson barely beat us, but they had to do what they were going to do to beat us. So, and there's some other factors in there. A little sore spot. We're not going to get into that. Also, another thing, are the wheels falling off the Ole Miss train? That's something to think about. I know we've all seen the news going around. He said, she said this. It's going to be hard to prove. I get it. But everybody was wondering about Hugh Freeze's rags to riches start. Kind of like, how is he pulling in these recruits when Ole Miss hasn't been good in 40 years? Everybody's wondering that. I was wondering it myself. I was thinking, some money's probably flying around. But there's a black cloud of Rockford right now. There's no way to say it. Some of the allegations, these are only allegations. I'm not saying they did it or anything like that. But they don't look too good. In the public's eyes, I'm sure they've already been judged. The NCAA believes that Ole Miss engaged in a pay-for-play deal with a recruit who signed with another school. It's kind of funny. Alleged between April 2014 and February 2015, former staff member A initiated and facilitated two boosters having impermissible contact with a prospective student-athlete B who enrolled in another institution. It is further alleged that these two provided prospective student-athlete B, who also enrolled in a different school, with impermissible cash benefits during this time frame, and that the former staff member knew about the cash payments. The value of the alleged inducements, according to the NCAA, is between $13,000 and $15,600. This is a charge level violation 1. It's very serious, actually. The Neil McCready that published RebelGrove.com, he reported that the recruit in question was Leo Lewis, a linebacker who signed with Mississippi State. He sat out a year and then played last year. Had a pretty good year for Mississippi State. He was given total immunity by the NCAA so he could testify and talk to them. Offensive lineman also Austin Golston, who transferred from Ole Miss and went to Auburn, alleged that a less serious level 3 violation for hunting near campus on private land owned by a booster during a official visit to Oxford after signing with Ole Miss. McCready reported additional nugget was cited in the testimony that's incredibly damaging, could have a ripple effect in the SEC. That his mother was asking Ole Miss for money and detailing incentives received from other programs, including Mississippi State. Now, this is all hard because it's all cash and it's he said, she said, so we'll see how it goes. If the information is correct, then the SEC and NCAA have obligation to examine the authenticity of the tape and the veracity of its comments. The incentives are talking about pay and during his recruitment and all this stuff, and it's definitely a cloud hanging over, and there's obviously sounds like there's some issues with boosters that are not too bueno. Also, basically the notion of one SEC school trying to out a rival SEC school dredges up memories of Tennessee and Alabama, which we know how that turned out in 2002. It was not very good. We got slapped with a 2-year postseason ban. It jacked us up for the next 4 or 5 years. And, the Eric Ramsey and Gene Jelks deal, Auburn and Alabama booster wars of the early 90s that saw both programs hit with major sanctions sucked. We know how that goes. I don't think Ole Miss will go to that length. I don't think it'll happen like that. But there's going to be some crackdowns, and there's going to be a lot of eyes of the NCAA staring people down. Well, anyway, this is Webb, and I will holler at you later. Yeah.